Level 1. The new arrival. You are 23. The truck lurches through a second gate and the light changes. Concrete watchtowers. A double fence with the inner wire humming. The sallyport at Kaohsiung closes behind the tailgate with a sound you will hear in your sleep for the rest of your life, however long that is. You do not know yet that this place has a name outside these walls. Inside, it has a number, Camp 14. You will not hear the word camp spoken by a guard. You will hear kwan-li-so, managed place. Managed is the important word. A man in a padded jacket reads your name from a list, then crosses it out. He hands you a folded tunic with 4 digits stitched over the heart. The digits are your name now. The name your mother gave you belongs to the file, and the file belongs to the Ministry of State Security's 7th Bureau, which has administered the political camps since the early 1972. You don't tell anyone where you are. There is no one to tell. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe if you want the rest of the climb. 10 levels. From the numbered arrival at the bottom to the one identity that outranks every rank inside these fences. The last level is the one nobody warns you about. It is not release, it is not freedom, it is something quieter, and it costs everything. Keep watching. We are going to climb this together. Level 2, the numbered laborer. You are 23 and 4 days. The tunic is stiff with someone else's sweat. The digits over your heart are 0847. When the guard shouts a number, you learn very quickly to answer before your brain finishes translating. Breakfast is a fistful of boiled maize and salt in warm water. Around 600 grams of corn a day. The ration Shin Dong-hyuk described from this same camp. The ration every survivor's testimony agrees on within a handful of grams. It is not enough. It is not meant to be. Hunger is not a side effect of the system. Hunger is the system doing its work through your stomach. You are put on a work team hauling broken rock from a hillside cut. No boots. Rubber shoes cut from old tires tied with wire. The first winter has not arrived yet, but the older prisoners are already watching the sky the way farmers watch a debt. A man beside you falls. Nobody stops. You learn in that single unbroken minute that stopping is a decision the body no longer gets to make. At night in the barracks, the older ones do not ask your name. They ask your number, and then they do not ask again. Your name is a thing that belonged to somebody outside. Somebody who is not here. You lie on the boards and try to remember your sister's face. You can see the shape of it. You cannot see the eyes. A name is what you are called by people who choose to. In here, nobody chooses. Level 3. The work unit member. You are 24. The winter came. You survived it, because the man next to you did not. His shoes fit you now. You have been assigned to a bunjo, a work squad of roughly 30 prisoners under a prisoner foreman who reports to a guard who reports to the bowibu. Your bunjo works the shallow coal seam at Camp 18, Bukchang, on the north bank of the Taedong. Camp 18 is different from Camp 14 in a way that matters and does not matter. At 18, you might, one day, be released. At 1-4, you were born to die inside. You were transferred here because your file was reclassified. You do not know by whom. You do not ask. Every morning before the shaft, you recite the 10 camp laws. The first is that any attempt to escape will be shot immediately. The second is that any failure to report an escape will be shot immediately. The rest go on like that. You know them the way you once knew a prayer. Your foreman is a prisoner named Cho. Not his real name. Nobody uses real names down here. But the name the guards call him by. Cho miscounts a coal tally by 2 carts. The guard makes the whole bunjo stand in the yard through the meal. You watch Cho's face while you stand. He is not afraid of the beating. He is afraid of the paper. The paper goes into a file, and the file is what decides whether he eats tomorrow, whether his mother in the family barracks eats, whether his son is moved to the harder detail. The quota is not a measure of work. The quota is a confession you sign in coal. Level 4. The trusted hand. You are 26. Nobody calls it a promotion. There is no ceremony, no new tunic, no extra corn. A guard walks down the line at dawn, stops at your number, and points at the tool rack. That is the entire event. You will spend the rest of your life understanding what happened in that half second of a guard's finger. The hammer means you have been observed. Somewhere in the Ministry of State Security's 7th Bureau, the bureau that administers every kwan-li-so in the country, a page has been added to your file. The 7th Bureau does not release its regulations, but defectors have described them consistently in testimony to the UN Commission of Inquiry. No marriage without permission, no correspondence in or out, no calendars in the barracks, no radios, no clocks. Time itself is contraband. The camp does not want you counting. The hammer is heavier than the shovel. It is also worth more. If you lose it, you are written up. If it is stolen from you, you are written up twice. Once for the loss, once for allowing yourself to be a person from whom things can be taken. You carry it back to the barracks that first night and lay it beside your board. Nobody comments. The older prisoners look at the hammer the way people outside would look at a wedding ring on a new hand. They understand what has been given and what it has cost the man it was given by. Weeks pass, or months. You do not know because there is no calendar and you have stopped keeping one in your head. That is when the small recognition arrives, quiet as a draft under the door. You stopped counting. You did not decide to. You simply did. The camp did not take your years. You handed them over one at a time in exchange for a heavier tool. Level 5, the Bukchang, squad leader. You are 28. The guard nods at you across the yard. That is the appointment. There is no paperwork you sign, no oath you speak. A nod in this place is the shape authority takes. You now assign the coal face. You now assign the latrine detail. You now assign, when it comes, the corpse detail. The 2 men who will carry a body from the barracks to the pit before roll call, so that the roll can be counted clean. You decide which 2. You decide by looking at the line and choosing the ones who can still walk after. Kang Chol-hwan spent 10 years in Camp 15, Yodok, a kwan-li-so, with what the system called a revolutionizing zone. The section where some prisoners could, in theory, be released. His memoir describes the internal ladder inside that zone with terrible precision. How a prisoner foreman ate slightly better, slept slightly warmer, and paid for both in a currency the guards never had to touch. The currency was the other prisoners. You are on that ladder now. You are one rung up. The rung is made of the people below it. Before we go further, if you've made it this far, comment what you want next. Hit that like button right now and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We upload every single day. At night, in the Bukchang's corner of the barracks. A corner, not a room, but a corner is more than most men in here will ever have. You lie awake and try to remember which of today's decisions were yours and which were the guards spoken through your mouth. You cannot separate them anymore. This, you understand, is the point. The nod cost you nothing. The nod cost you everything. Level 6, the snitch of record. You are 29. The pencil is maybe 4 centimeters long, sharpened with a fingernail. He gives you a scrap of grey paper the size of a cigarette packet. He tells you what he wants on it. Names and what those names said, and where by the water pump they said it. He tells you the paper is due at the end of the shift. He does not tell you what happens if the paper is blank. He does not have to. In 1987, the 10 camp laws were revised. The revision that mattered most was not written for the wall of the barracks. It was written into practice. Every prisoner is responsible for reporting every other prisoner. Mutual surveillance is not encouraged. It is required. The failure to report is itself a reportable offense. The system does not have enough guards to watch every barracks. It does not need to. It has you. You stand by the water pump the next morning with the pencil in your sleeve. You listen. You hear a woman complain about the weight of her ration. You hear a man ask, very quietly, whether the news from the outside is true. You do not know what news he means and he does not say. You hear your wife's cousin, 2 barracks over, in the family section, where prisoners with children are held, tell somebody her son has stopped growing. You put a name on the paper. You do not put hers. You put a man's name, a man whose family is already inside, a man for whom the mark will not travel further, because there is nowhere further for it to travel. You hand in the paper. The guard reads it without looking at you. A week later, the woman 2 barracks over is gone. Not the man on your paper. Her. The guard did not need your paper to find her. He needed to know if you would write a paper at all. The test was never the name. The test was the pencil in your hand. Level 7. The foreman of the shaft. You are 32. You sign the daily labor sheet now, in ink issued by the Bowibu, the state security officers who administer the political side of the camp. The pen is a small object. The pen is the largest object you have ever held. The sheet has columns. Prisoner number. Meters advanced. Cartloads hauled. Incidents. Each row is a life for the next 24 hours. A prisoner who does not meet quota goes into the incidents column, and the incidents column feeds the punishment shed, and the punishment shed feeds, sometimes, the pit at the far end of the yard. You do not put a man in the incidents column lightly. You do not need to. The men below you have learned to meet their quotas because they have learned what your pen means. You eat separately now. Not much better. A thicker soup, a second handful of maize, but separately. Which is the real ration. Separation is what the camp gives when it wants to give something. You think, sometimes, that you have arrived somewhere. That the paper on your desk is a kind of desk. that the ink in the pen is a kind of authority. And then you remember Camp 22. Camp 22, at Hoeryong near the Chinese border, was one of the largest of the political camps. It held tens of thousands of prisoners across mountain valleys the size of small counties. In 2012, satellite imagery, reviewed by the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea and by 38 North, showed the camp being dismantled. The guard towers came down, the perimeter thinned. The prisoners, the ones who were still alive, were moved or were not. The camp that had existed for decades stopped existing over a matter of months, without announcement, without record, without the state ever confirming it had been there at all. Everything you now signed for could disappear that fast. The pen, the desk, the ink, the shaft, the men in your columns, not through your failure. Through a decision made in a room you will never see, by men whose names you will never hear. The paperwork is the power. The paperwork is the paper. Level 8, the trustee of the compound. You are 36. You wear a cleaner uniform. You carry a whistle on a cord instead of a hammer in your belt. You walk between the barracks and the guardhouse the way a man walks between two rooms of the same building. That is what you have become. A piece of architecture the camp uses to move information from one side of itself to the other. You do not go into the shaft anymore. You do not see the coalface. You see reports about the coalface, and the reports are filtered by the man below you, who filters them for the same reason you once filtered them for the man above. Because a full report is a dangerous report, and a dangerous report is a shortened life. The UN Commission of Inquiry, in its 2014 report, described this layering with a precision the camps themselves have never permitted on paper. The Commission concluded that the political prison camps of the DPRK constituted crimes against humanity and estimated the surviving prisoner population across the kwan-li-so system at between 80 and 120,000. Numbers assembled from satellite imagery, defector testimony, and the slow arithmetic of what could be confirmed. You are one of them. You have a whistle. You sleep less than you did at level 2. This surprises you at first, then it does not. At level 2, you were afraid of the guard. At level 8, you are afraid of the man who sleeps 3 boards down from where you used to sleep, and who is now doing what you once did, and who is watching exactly the way you once watched for the small failure that will send you back. The paranoia is not paranoia. It is a memory of the ladder, seen from the rung above the one you climbed from. You understand something you did not understand at any level below this one. The bottom is not the cage. The middle is not the cage. The cage is the belief that there is a floor above this one that is not also the cage. You look up anyway. Everyone does. There is one more level. Level 9, the released. You are 41. The gate at Yodok opens for you the way it opened for Kang Chol-hwan in 1987. A signed paper, a bow to the officer, a walk down the road you were driven up 10 years earlier. Kang was 15 when he was taken with his family, 25 when he was let go. His lungs by then held the coal of the mine. His memoir, published in France in 2000 as Les Aquariums de Pyongyang, was the first full account of the political camps by a survivor. You walk out with the same lungs and no memoir. Not yet releases from a kyohwaso. A re-education camp is a legal category. Release from a kwan-li-so is a rarer thing, and it does not undo what the file has written. Your songbun is worse now than the day you were arrested. You will not be given work in a city. You will be given work in a mine, this time with a paycheck, and the paycheck will be smaller than the ration you drew as a bunjojang. You are a free man in the same way a shadow is a body. Level 10, the survivor. You are 49. You are in a room in Geneva with a microphone in front of you. The UN Commission of Inquiry, chaired by Michael Kirby, is taking testimony that will become the 2014 report. You say your camp number. You say the years. You say what you signed in ink and what you wrote in pencil and who did not come back. The reframe arrives while you are speaking, in a language that is not the language you were beaten in. You thought you were climbing out. You were not. You were climbing into the shape the camp needed you to be, so that when you left it could leave with you. You did not survive the camp. The camp survived, inside you, and you carried it across the border. Arrival at this height is a form of loss. You reach the top. The top is what is left after everything else was taken. A borrowed apartment in Seoul. The kettle clicks off. Through the window. Morning traffic. A school child in a clean navy coat crosses the street at the light, unafraid, without looking up at any tower, because there is no tower to look up at. Her breath in the cold makes a small cloud and then it is gone. You pour the tea. Your hands are steady. They have been steady for years now. which is its own kind of grief. You do not say the number stitched over your heart when you were 23. You do not say the names on the pencil paper. You do not name what you feel, because the feeling does not have a name in either language you speak. You drink the tea. The steam warms your face. Outside, the country goes on being a country. Inside, quietly, so does the other one.